What's up, YouTube? Welcome in. Heineken Rivalry Week is here, and we are talking all about it. But what everyone wants to know, Bobby, is Carlos Vela disrespectful? He put four guys in the ground, paused on the goal line, waited for Nick Lima to dive for the ball, and then flicked it into the back of the net. As a former pro, you're Nick Lima. You're on the goal line. You ran your lungs out. You did everything you could, and you're trying to dive in, and Carlos Vela is playing with you. Is that disrespect?
Absolutely disrespectful. I would be absolutely furious. But as a neutral who spends a living talking into a mic, it was incredible and we need more of it.
Yes, give me more. Extra time starts now. Oh, from New York, you are listening to Extra Time, driven by Continental from the AT&T MLS studios in Midtown Manhattan. I am Andrew Wiebe with but one partner in soccer. That is Bobby Warshaw. What's up, Bobby? It's Heineken Rivalry Week. Say that fast 5 times. Give it a try for me right now.
Heineken Rivalry Week, Heineken Rivalry Week, Heineken Rivalry Week, Heineken Rivalry Week.
Oh, I thought you had it. You just didn't quite make it to the end. We got a big show today. We're excited to be here. It's early morning. We got our coffee. If it was past noon, I would say we would crack a Heine, but it's not, so we won't. But it's been a great week so far. Wednesday got us started. Atlantic Cup, Red Bulls, winners, PK, DC fans didn't like that one. And then LAFC, absolutely dominant. Just wiped San Jose off the field, although I got to say, San Jose did have some chances. Mateus Almeida will be mad about those. He was mad about some other things as well. We got a great show for you today. It might just be us, but we're bringing in everybody from everywhere. Max Bretos is going to join us in just 1 second from Los Angeles. Mike Conti, he who called both of us idiots, is going to join as well. He's the voice of Atlanta United on 929 The Game in Atlanta. We've got Patrice Bernier to talk about what, Bobby?
Remi Garde out.
Yeah.
As head coach, Wilmer Cabrera in, and Patrice stepping into an assistant coach.
I collected all the tweets, and I won't read them here, but it's basically the who's who of the MLS reporting world, the Taylor Twellmans, the Paul Tenorios, the Matt Doyles. I hesitate to put his name in that group, just saying, wow, my mind is blown.
Lowercase r.
Lowercase r.
Lowercase r.
Were you, how surprised were you by that?
I mean, nothing surprises me at this point in this league, but yeah, it's a little speculative, but we'll talk about it. I think I have some decent ideas on why they might have decided to go to Wilmer Cabrera with this move.
Okay, and this week, St. Louis, official. Look, it wasn't a secret. It wasn't a rumor anymore. It was basically official, but they hit the dais, they hit the stage. They awarded team number 28 to St. Louis, MLS for the Lou. Phill Grooms, a co-host of the USL Show, been covering that USL team in St. Louis. He's a native. He has absolutely wanted an MLS team, and now he has it. He's going to explain to us what the culture is like in St. Louis and what this team might look like come, I believe, 2022, correct?
And listen, I'm very excited for St. Louis, but I'm getting nervous.
Really? Why?
I'm getting nervous. The spots are getting taken up before Mechanicsburg FC can get in.
Oh, boy. Well, you know.
We got to get our bid going, guys.
You need to be a little more public.
Let's get going.
A little more public with your support for that one. Before we get to Max here, and you know, I don't want to shrift the Atlantic Cup, and folks are going to say, oh, it's because it's losing relevance, and look at MLSsoccer.com's narrative machine going in, you know, to high drive. I mean, we'll get to it. Wayne Rooney got a red card. It was, I'm not going to say at the level of intensity that maybe we've seen in the best games in the past, but it was still a good game, but it wasn't LAFC. It wasn't the historic run they continue to be on. It wasn't Carlos Vela hitting 26 and 15. He's got 41 goals scored and assists. 15 MLS teams have 41 or less goals just scored. Mm-hmm. And that's one player. Their goal differential is plus 46. They beat San Jose 4-0, and they made it look just exceedingly easy at times. And last night on Matchday Central, you were in one of those rare sort of moods. You were inspired, Bobby.
Yeah, it felt really
good. You were
good.
feeling it. What were you feeling?
Well, the main thing that I feel right now is what drives anything forward, but including a soccer league. And for me, Andrew, that's intellectual innovation, right? There's some idea that maybe just sheer willpower and force can cause something to move forward. But the main thing is intellectual capacity to try new things, to really raise the bar on how the people in that industry go about thinking and innovating in what they do. And we hadn't had that in a little bit. Maybe Jesse Marsch with the Red Bulls tried something new. Patrick Vieira brought in a little bit more of an intense passing style with what Greg Berhalter was doing, but it really feels like we've been at a stalled point for true intellectual innovation and capacity in the league. And what LAFC have done this year hasn't just been phenomenal with Carlos Vela dribbling people and the way they pass and the way they press and all those things. They have taken the intellectual capacity, specifically last night. Last night was really the threshold for me, the new tipping point with the way they planned and approached to beat San Jose. And I always think really with anything in soccer, you have to think, what would Pep Guardiola do? And when Pep builds a game plan, he talks about how it's so specific and detailed. We get the ball to the right. Maybe we do 3 or 4 passes. Then we swing the ball back to the left. It's going to bring the defense over here. Then we have these two players run into the middle. Then we play the ball back to the middle, and one of these 2 guys is going to score with the inside of his foot to the back post. It's incredible what he does. And for me, LAFC are the first team to have a similar plan to say every single week we are going to follow A, B, C, D, E, F, and G details to beat this team. It helps they've got good players. It helps that they have principles of play and a foundation. But the way this team goes thinking about and planning for the game is taking a new step, and it's going to drive the league forward.
Absolutely it is. And it's going to drive the league forward from a social media perspective and just engagement metrics based on what Carlos Vela did. Like, I don't want to reduce it to that because it's not about that, but that's kind of how you know in this sort of day and age what's taken hold, what resonates with people. Carlos Vela scored the 3rd goal in this game, and I don't think I have to describe to anybody what this looked like. Mm-hmm. Like, you've seen it. No matter where you've been under a rock, you've seen this. I mean, he dribbles everybody. I mean, my biggest question is, what is the grounds crew going to do at Bank of California Stadium? Because there are like 3 or 4 6-foot holes in the ground. Like, he put people in the ground. But Grim Kasia, down you go, fella. Florian Youngworth, no chance. Left to right foot. See ya. Big and goal. See ya. And then Lima slides in to block it. Carlos Vela pauses, puts his foot on it, waits for nice. Nick Lima to lunge at it, and then flicks it in the netting. Like, it's just, it was a moment that I'll never forget. And it helps that Kalen Carr was literally like jumping on top of me and running around screaming like a small child.
Andrew, you're underselling it, because all of that came after a pass that broke the lines in which 2 attackers, Carlos Vela and Josh Perez, were on the same page. Carlos Vela dummies it, continues his 3rd man run, gets it back. The fact that you're just talking about Carlos Vela dribbling undersells it so far to the capacity of what was accomplished in this play.
Absolutely. It was incredible, and I can think of no one better to talk to about it than Max Bretos, the TV voice of LAFC. You can see him on YouTube TV. He's also, quote, an overall cool dude. It's an AT&T call to the field out to Los Angeles. Max, what's up?
Doing all right, man. Thanks for reading what I told you to read on my intro. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's the way we do it here. You give me the intro, you give me the plaudits, and then I just verbatim read them right back to you, right?
Exactly. All good.
Did you send me anything on LAFC? Because we have plenty of plaudits there. Bobby says he's inspired by this team. Max, give me your 1-word description, if you can reduce it to that, for what Bob Bradley, Carlos Vela, and LAFC are doing this season.
1 word, eventful. I try to use that because I think every time we go to the stadium or we watch LAFC, we expect something memorable to happen, and it really does. And I think every time they have a game from this point forward, and this is kind of goes against what we see in Major League Soccer on a regular basis, you've got to tune in because a record might be broken, something special might happen, like last night with the goal we saw. You have to watch them. They are just that. They're that team.
Now, Max, I was sitting next to Kalen Carr when Carlos Vela scored that goal. We all know what goal I'm talking about. Kalen Carr jumped up on the couch, ran along the top of the couch, not the part you sit on, the part that your back goes on, jumped up and down, screamed like a little girl. You were in the stadium, and you did what when you saw Carlitos do that?
Well, I was in the press area on the 4th floor there at Bank of California Stadium, and I have my emotions on my sleeve. I usually pump my fist when a goal happens, and our head of communications, Seth Burton, says you cannot celebrate in the press area. I go, you're absolutely right. I go, that is rule number 1, and we have to be respectful of that because there's people from the earthquakes and what have you. But then again, when that happened, I jumped out of my seat, but not only did I, Seth did. Everyone who works for the club were standing up like they saw something remarkable, and that's never happened there. That's the first time I've been there where collectively everybody reacted that way. It was mind blowing. We saw it at the goal where he was going to at the south end, so we're right above it. It was pretty amazing.
Now, Carlos Vela this year, I kind of just did the quick math. He's got 41 goals created or scored. 15 MLS teams have equaled that or have less than that. The Vancouver Whitecaps have scored 1 more goal than one Carlos Vela the entire season. Watching him up close, seeing him work on a daily basis, talking to Bob Bradley about him. What is it? How can you describe this dominance, this level? I mean, it just has never happened in this league before.
Well, he's the ultimate outlier, and he's going to be able to break these records because he is this world-class player that should be starting for his national team, but has decided to focus on this MLS team, and he does it in such a way he draws no attention to himself other than the way he plays, which is mind-blowing and gets millions of hits on social media and we're at whatever digital content area you can find. Other than that, he blends in with the team, and I think that's where he finds his most success. People like to play with him. People like to watch him. He's so easy. I don't want to be too cliche, but he really is that kind of first guy there, last guy out of training. New players come and he puts his hand around him. You look at him and I go, is this guy for real? It's the perfect player. You could not draw up a player more perfect for specifically an MLS club who's all in, who speaks on behalf of the club, the league, his teammates. I don't want to mention other names, but sometimes some star players, there's baggage. You expect it, but there is no baggage with this guy.
I don't want to name names, he says.
No,
Max, I want you to...
It's a little more difficult with others.
Max,
it's supposed to be difficult. It's supposed to be difficult, guys.
I found what you said about him being the first one in, last one out to be really interesting because I've never played with Carlos Vela. I don't know him personally, but that's not the thought I had in my head with him. I always thought of an incredibly talented player who is maybe the opposite of that. So it's really interesting for you to say that he is such a hard worker and works on the craft on a daily basis.
Yeah, and Bobby, I'll give you this example. So Brian Rodriguez is a new signing. He's been at practice. Carlos Vela is there, easing his transition, sitting with him, talking to him. And then the day that Brian Rodriguez had his press day where he's taking photos, doing some interviews, I'm looking at the parking lot, and there's like 3 or 4 cars left because it was a long day for everyone who worked at the club because we had a lot of stuff that we had to pump out. I look at the parking lot, there's 3 or 4 cars left. One was mine, and one was Carlos Vela's. And he's like easily walks in there and leaves. It's really true. He loves being around the team atmosphere. It's his comfort zone. But it's hard to believe a guy that stature. You don't even notice when he walks in or out. He's just blended in with everything the team does. And that's just the way what he has created.
He makes it look effortless, and maybe that makes it seem like maybe he doesn't have to work for it, but clearly he does. Bob Bradley asked him to be messy. I think pretty clearly, Max, he was messy last night, but there was also just a little bit of something between these two teams. I know LAFC has dominated this quote-unquote rivalry, and I'm not ready to push it into that box yet, but you see Mateus Almeida get thrown off. You see some of the pregame back and forth between he and Bob, and then you see the intensity on the field. Is this a rivalry? Is it the beginnings of a rivalry? Could it be a rivalry?
I hope it moves that direction. I think in the case with LAFC, I mean, the Galaxy fans will kind of push back with the rivalry because the LAFC has not won a game, and I get it. And I think there's some fairness to that. I think the same with San Jose. I mean, they're going to have to get a chapter where they do well. Unfortunately, they've been on the receiving end of some one-handed results with LAFC. Certainly this season, the U.S. Open Cup game went better for them. They were competitive in that. For the other 2 games, it was not the case, and we saw the meltdown from Almeida. I don't want to get off topic, but we had this thought as well about Lionel Messi's comparison to Carlos Vela. If Lionel Messi scored a goal like that, it would be on a never-ending loop. And then a lot of people come up and go, oh, MLS defenders. I go, well, Lionel Messi does that to the quote-unquote elite Spanish defenders. So I think if he's going to get the plaudits for doing something like that, which he does all the time, that was a messy goal where he just runs around people and makes them stab at air. So I think that's something we have to give credit for, and the league, and not distance it when Messi does something. I'm not calling Carlos Vela Messi, but that was a messy goal that we see in La Liga all the time that he commits.
Now, Max, let's look forward now. El Trafico coming up. For as incredible as LAFC have been, they have yet to beat the LA Galaxy in their 4 meetings. Is there a sense around the team that they need to do something different, or what's on their mind moving into this game on Sunday?
They're going to play the same way, and Bob Bradley's been pretty explicit about that, saying we play and we're not going to adjust to another team. And it's done them extremely well all season. But there's a weight around the club. Certainly, you can feel it with the fans that there'd be an emptiness if they don't win this game. If they go and win MLS Cup, they feel, this is not my words, these are the discussions I have, they feel that's going to be something that they're going to have to deal with and not looking forward to it. So this is a really important regular season game. The players, the teams, they want to win it. Of course they do. And even more so based on what has happened in the past. but this is just more than a game. There's no other way to look at it. We try to spin it a little bit. The Galaxy have not won at Bank in California Stadium. There's only been one game. It ended up a tie. It should have been an LAFC game. I think that home field advantage they feel, this is where it happens. It doesn't have to be 4-0. It doesn't have to be 5-1. One zip would suffice. But this is an important chapter for closure on such an incredible season.
You will see that game finish off Heineken Rivalry Week, 10:30 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, FS1. Max, I'm so interested in what Bob Bradley is thinking and how he's working right now. What he's doing is absolutely incredible, but I know how competitive he is and also how he never seems to be satisfied. LAFC, LA Galaxy, I have to believe this is a game that whether he'll show it or not, that he desperately wants to win. What sort of vibe are you getting from Bob these days, both ahead of the Trafico, but also just in general about what his team is accomplishing?
He's never really satisfied. I think there's this moment where he wants to see the perfect game, and even after the San Jose game last night, we sat down and listened to him address the media, and he was like, "We're almost there. I mean, but there's too many moments where guys are not making their passes, where they're not tracking back. Whatever it is, he still sees a few flaws where the team can get even better," which blows your mind because you look at that and go, how can you really improve on that? But he's not satisfied until he sees that. He wants to win every game. He won't say this, but deep down he wants to, like any coach, wants to make a huge impression. He wants to win MLS Cup. He wants to win the Supporter Shield. That he has said. He wants to maybe take that next step and be that coach to lead an MLS team to glory in CONCACAF Champions League. That's all on his plan, but it's all part of a bigger plan. This is not to win this year just for LAFC. Some of the new signings and stuff, this is a long-term play, and I think it's all part of the legacy he'll leave with this club, which it has been just, look, we have to pinch ourselves that we come to work and get to see this on a regular basis. It is a charmed life.
It's absolutely incredible. You can follow Max on Twitter or watch him on the broadcast, YouTube TV, at Max Bretos Sports on Twitter. Before we let you go, Max, you said MLS Cup. An LAFC fan saying, hey, even if we, let's say we don't beat the Galaxy and win MLS Cup, something is missing. Do they have to win MLS Cup? Is this like a must-win sort of thing with the season they're having, with Vela at the form that he is, with the rest of the league just looking up? I mean, does it have to happen for them?
I think for all of us in MLS circles, we know that that's not fair because the playoff, and even more so this year because it's a new format that we've never seen. One bad performance and it's curtains. The Red Bulls will be the first to tell you all about that it doesn't seem to fall into place. Rarely do we have the best team win MLS Cup over the past few years, or ever for that matter, because of the playoff format. We were talking with some of the guys, and I'm not going to put the pressure saying they have to win MLS Cup. With a great season, what they can't do is lose that first-round game. They've got to at least get to a Western Conference final. I think if they can get by that first one, that will avoid just unfortunate conversations about this team and how they weren't able to finish. That said, they'll have to answer those questions anyway if they have the best record, just like the Red Bulls last season, just like Toronto FC a little bit further back. They have to finish the job in order to get complete closure. But I think in a realistic perspective, if they can win that first playoff game, if they can get to the Final Four or make an MLS Cup and lose, I'd be very hard-pressed to say that the season was a failure or did not finish the most ideal way.
All right, that's Max Bretos. Thank you so much.
Not everyone would share that outlook, but I think that's the fair one based on the playoff format.
I think that's fair too. I may not share that one, but we'll be following, man. Trafico coming up on Sunday, FS1, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Enjoy it, all right, Max?
All right, Andrew, Bobby, good chatting with you.
Yes! Max Bretos, the legend. I can still hear that call from the old Fox Soccer days. Oh,
I could use you never doing that
okay,
again, though.
I won't ever do that
Leave
again.
it to Max.
Okay, I'll let that one go. 61 points. The record is 71. LAFC have 8 games left, and if you don't think they're going to obliterate this, I'd like to talk to you and maybe interrogate you a little bit about what you're on, because I don't think there's any doubt, Bobby, that this team is going to make history.
They are 7 points ahead. Atlanta United were winning the Supporter Shield race with 8 games to go last year. They faltered a little bit, and Red Bulls were amazing. LAFC right now is 7 points ahead of the pace that Atlanta United was on. They are 21 goal differential goals ahead of the pace that Atlanta United were on last year.
That's crazy. 2.35 points per game. El Trafico coming on Sunday, as we said. Heineken Rivalry Week rolls on. Of course, we had the Atlantic Cup. Real quick, I want your quick take on this. Wayne Rooney, red card or no?
I would not have given a red card, but it's certainly grounds for a red, and I don't think it was a bad call.
Okay. In the laws, I think it is a red. I would have given the red. I'm not sure you would see it live, but definitely on video review. Overall, this game, though. DC at home, losers again, 3 wins in 16. Red Bulls, a big dub. DC fans are going to ask questions about another call. That's the Michael Murillo PK shot, but ultimately, no result for them. No Wayne Rooney probably, and at least the next game, maybe more. It's kind of spiraling away. You feel that?
I would say it's worse than spiraling.
Really?
I mean, it's full-on tumbling down a double black diamond hill right now.
Ouch.
But the thing is, I don't know what they do to stop it. I think Ben Olsen had a tough problem this year with Lucho Acosta, and they managed it fairly well. He has his dream move fall apart. I think that would break any of our hearts. It was fine for a little bit, but I don't think any of us anticipated how hard that would be for this team to cope with. But I don't know what they do at this point except to buckle down the hatchets, which is what every MLS team does when they struggle, right? Portland last year, you can go down the list.
Just simplify.
Which they haven't fully done yet. They've done it a little bit, but drop back into your 4-4 to survive, grind out points in the ugliest way possible. I think that they'll still do it to make the playoffs, Andrew, but it's tedious at this point.
Yeah, it's a little touch and go. Ola
Tenuous.
Kamara.
Tenuous, not tedious.
Yeah, it's a little tedious as well at times. Ola Kamara, that goal was not tedious. What a hit from him. We'll see if he can do more of that in the black and red of DC United. Heineken Rivalry Week, again, I can't even say it. I have to focus so hard. Thursday, we won't dig into the nicest rivalry in MLS, but Sporting Kansas City are hosting Minnesota. Daddy's coming home. That's Ike Opara, who for whatever reason likes to call himself Daddy. 9:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN on Thursday. If you're listening to this on Thursday, make sure you watch that game. Friday, Orlando, Atlanta on ESPN, 8 p.m. And then Portland, Seattle, also on ESPN at 10 p.m. 2 great games through there. Right now, though, you know who we got to talk to? Mike Conti. He had a couple things to say about us. He's the voice of Atlanta United on 929 The Game in Atlanta, the radio play-by-play. Mike, what's up? You're on with 2 idiots on Extra Time.
I feel so awful about that, guys. I really do. And I want to apologize again. Just because Bobby's incorrect does not make him an idiot. So I am really, really sorry about that, and thank you for having me on.
I appreciate that because I actually watched that segment, and I thought, Bobby, you're an idiot. No, Atlanta United are the second best team in the league right now.
Yeah, we're going to get to that, Andrew.
Okay.
We're going to get to that. Mike, my first thought for you, and this is something I've been meaning to ask you, is for me, one of the things that really separates Atlanta United from the rest of the league is your presence on sports talk radio and the influence you guys have in that market. How did that come about? How did you guys become a sports talk radio team down there?
Well, I hope I don't have a lot of influence in this market. If we did, I think some of our fans would probably go running away. But no, we have something very special down here in Atlanta where MLS is included in the conversation with the National Football League, the NBA, Major League Baseball. It is seen as one of the 5 major stick and ball professional sports leagues, at least down here. And it's been that way since the very beginning, even before we as a radio station really started covering it to the extent that we do now. So I don't want to, create the idea that our radio station had anything to do with getting it to that level, but it got to the point where it was impossible for us as a radio station to ignore how people feel about Atlanta United in this community, in this market. The attendance numbers do not lie. The TV ratings, the radio ratings, they do not lie. And what's really cool for me to see is when you go around town and you walk into a sports bar or even in the grocery store, when you're getting ready to check out, you're overhearing people talking about soccer in the same way they're talking about Julio Jones' contract or if Kirby Smart's going to win a national championship down here this year. So as a radio station, we couldn't ignore it. We had to talk about it or else we wouldn't be doing our jobs as the radio station, the sports radio station of record in this town in covering all of the major teams. Now, it helps that we have the play-by-play rights, obviously, and and it's an important part of our programming and our content on this radio station. But I think even if we didn't, we would be doing our listeners a disservice if we didn't talk about them to the extent that we do.
It's beautiful, man. We want every single market to have this, to have the chatter after the game, an hour reaction, people caring, tuning in, maybe even calling in. I was bummed I couldn't call into your show. I was going to have some fun. No more Pity Martinez fables for you, though. Look, who's the biggest celebrity on this team in town? Is it Josef Martinez? And where does he rank kind of in the echelon of the Julio Joneses of the world in Atlanta?
It absolutely is, Joseph. Some of our supporters are leading a campaign. I don't think if it's gotten to GoFundMe levels yet, but a lot of our supporters want a statue erected of Joseph, preferably him kind of looking back at Joe Bendick when he scored his record-setting goal last year in Orlando. But we can get to that later.
God, so petty.
It is, Joseph. There's no doubt about it. But, again, Atlanta is unique, where if Miles Robinson's walking down the street, he's going to be noticed. Julian Gretzel's someone who's been incredibly accessible to fans down here because he lives in Midtown. He walks his dog and goes to the Fetch Dog Park, which is the big dog park in downtown Atlanta, and he's very, very accessible to fans. He's noticed. Everyone is noticed. Everyone is recognized here. But for Joseph, we start to have these conversations here on the radio station about, and I hate, this is a sports radio cliche, but the Mount Rushmore of superstars in Atlanta. And Joseph's face is on the Mount Rushmore, probably right now with Trae Young and Julio Jones and maybe Ronald Acuna, because Joseph has a certain degree of swagger that I think American football fans, baseball fans, and basketball fans can relate to. Joseph is very, very confident, and he backs up that confidence, obviously, with scoring a ton of goals. And for a lot of people who are relatively new to soccer down here in Atlanta and in the Southeast, sometimes your star power is measured by goal-scoring ability. You could make the argument that Darlington Nagbe is just as vital to Atlanta United as Josef Martinez is right now, but Darlington has only scored one goal on the year, and I think a lot of casuals kind of evaluate your level of productivity on a soccer team by the amount of goals that you score. So that's why Joseph is in that conversation. But, yeah, Joseph is a mega star down here, a mega star. Anytime he has an autograph signing event, anytime he's doing something out in public, it draws a huge, huge crowd.
All right, we know what the game is this weekend, Heineken Rivalry Week. Orlando hosting Atlanta on ESPN on Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. It's the first game that night. I cannot wait for – sorry, my bad. Orlando! I have to do it every single time because that pettiness from Joseph was absolutely incredible. How do Atlanta supporters see Orlando? The club, the supporters, the little brother probably, I would guess at this point?
Yeah, I think among supporters probably. I don't think among the players it's like that. I mean, there is a lot of animosity between these two teams. There's a lot of animosity between, both teams' supporters and fans, and that's okay. That's what a rivalry is, as long as it remains good-natured and it doesn't get entirely out of hand. I really think, though, Andrew and Bobby, that, look, I totally respect the rivalry that exists with Atlanta and Orlando. There is that animosity that I talked about. The fact that Orlando has never beaten Atlanta, in my opinion, has no bearing on whether this is a rivalry or not. I think some Atlanta United fans would argue it's not a rivalry because Orlando has never beaten Atlanta United. Well, I don't believe that. There's a certain intangible feel that comes with playing Orlando. But I would also say this. Atlanta United has a really robust rivalry with the New York Red Bulls. And I think one of the quiet, sneaky, underrated rivalries in this league that doesn't get a lot of publicity is Atlanta United and New York City. Two teams that always play pretty epic matches against each other, really high-quality matches. Now you have the history of the playoff meeting on top of it. But with New York City, I think it's a little more of a respectful rivalry where players on both teams really kind of complement each other. They know that New York City strengths and Atlanta United strengths complement so well, and it's a little more of a good-natured, respectful rivalry. But as far as quality of matches produced, that to me, like if Orlando's going to be 1A, then maybe New York City and Red Bulls are tied as being 1B. And for Orlando, I think on their side of things, and you'd probably have to ask them because they would know better, I think they're 100% all in on Atlanta being their only rival, whereas up here in Atlanta, maybe our attention is a little more divided.
Of course, Orlando might have to make the playoffs to get in one of those situations. Those generally add some fuel to the fire. I got a couple more for you, but I want this one quick. Miami, Nashville, they're coming. Could they rival Orlando as rivals for Atlanta United? What will they be?
Nashville's interesting. I think there's a lot of camaraderie between the developing supporters base in Nashville and what we have here in Atlanta. I think that will be a good-natured rivalry. A lot of fans are very much looking forward to having a drivable MLS road match that they can attend. We don't have that here in Atlanta. Miami's interesting. You have Paul McDonough down there who helped to build Atlanta United. I think there's a thought up here that when Miami comes in, they'll be Orlando's chief rival, and when Nashville comes in, they'll kind of be Atlanta's chief rival. Of course, if Charlotte were to get in, then all bets are off. But
interesting.
We're really looking forward to seeing Nashville in the league, I can tell you that.
So I have two more for you. And the first one centers around Frank de Boer, who has had all manners of headlines this year and has kind of been maligned at times, even seemingly by his own players, as recently as the All-Star break. And now everything seems hunky-dory. I'm on the field in Portland, and Josef's scoring goals, and everybody's celebrating with the staff. And I'm like, but wait, I thought it was a little off here. I thought people weren't that happy.
Andrew, I had people in my Twitter mention saying there was never panic mode in Atlanta. I want to be like, it was 3 weeks ago when you had 3 players say they didn't like playing for this coach and they didn't like his style.
Did things change that quickly? Did we just misread it from afar, Mike? What's going on?
Well, it's tough. You have some players who are very, very emotional and said some things. Obviously what Leandro said at the All-Star break, to me that was the most confusing of all, because that was after Atlanta United had moved into the 3-5-2. They were playing a style that looked very, very similar to what they were playing last year under Tata Martino. So the timing of those remarks was very, very odd. I think, as is the case with anything, guys, when you start winning, when you start getting on a roll, those little doubts in the back of your head kind of just fade away. And this is a very tight-knit dressing room. Everyone likes each other. Frank had to go to the 3-5-2 because of Breck Shea's injury in Seattle, quite frankly, but the results speak for themselves. They've won 6 out of 7 since going to the 3-5-2. When you win, you don't hear the complaints anymore. But I don't really think it was as big a deal as it was being made out to be in the first place. They had a really rough start to the year. I think playing in the CONCACAF Champions League was burdensome. Since April 20th, they're 18-6-1 across all competitions. That's really, really good. And outside of a 5-1 loss to Chicago, there were a couple losses in there where they were literally on the last kick of the game. So since April 20th, it's been rolling pretty well. And you have not heard as much of the concern, the confusion out of that dressing room, I think, since April 20th, which is why everything that happened over the All-Star break was so puzzling to me.
All right, last one here. We know Bobby, what he thinks about who the second best team in the league is. But we all know who the number one team in the league is. That's LAFC. That's pretty darn clear, Mike.
No question.
So give us the pitch. If it comes to MLS Cup, if it's Atlanta, LAFC, why does Atlanta win that game?
Well, I don't know if Atlanta wins that game, but if they were to win that game, I want to go back to July 26th when Atlanta United played at LAFC, where aside from a 12-minute stretch at the end of the first half, Atlanta United was counterpunching pretty well against LAFC. I think Atlanta United, if they're going to be fortunate enough to make the MLS Cup final and beat LAFC, it would be because of their depth. LAFC, their first 11 is so good. I wonder through the grind of a postseason, and if they were to have an ill-timed injury somewhere, if, God forbid, Vela were to get hurt, how would they deal with that? I think Atlanta United, from a depth standpoint, might be a little bit better equipped. But what LAFC has done this year, and it continued against San Jose, it's just remarkable. So much respect to them. And I hope we get another crack at them. Because, to be totally honest with you, I thought Atlanta United played really, really well out there in L.A. on July 26th.
We shall see. Mike Conti, Sports Radio 929 The Game in Atlanta. He's the radio play-by-play voice of Atlanta United. Mike, thanks for sharing your time with a couple idiots, okay?
You're not idiots. Love what you guys do. Thanks very much.
Mike.
Thanks, Mike. We're big fans.
All jokes aside, big thanks to Mike for joining the show, for being a good sport. Nobody took anything personally here, folks, so don't get riled up on Twitter. Look, we don't even have time to discuss all these games. Friday night, Orlando, Atlanta, Portland, Seattle, ESPN. Saturday, NYCFC, Red Bulls, New England, Chicago. That used to be a rivalry back in the day when they met in the playoffs. Philly, DC, it's trying to be a rivalry. Canadian Classique, Toronto FC, and Montreal. I'm going to hone in right there. because we talked about it at the top. The news that shocked everybody. I mean, mind blown. Remi Garde being let go did not surprise me. Their last 3 results had not been good. 6-3 loss to Colorado, and then they lost to Chicago. Those teams not in the playoffs, you might have realized. And then they draw it home to Dallas in a wild and crazy game, and the players don't look happy. And Remi Garde has been calling out his players basically since day one in Montreal. It just kind of felt like they soured.
Yeah.
But Wilmer Cabrera, he just got let go by the Dynamo for not having the results. So when you need to have your season, I'm going to go ahead and say turn around, because they've steadily fallen down the Eastern Conference table to 7th, 34 points. Orlando City have 34, Toronto have 34, Chicago Fire have 33. This is a little bit of a head scratcher. We'll talk to Patrice Bernier in just a second, who, by the way, is now an assistant on this staff. What do you make of this, Bobby?
Well, the first thing I want to point out is that Remi Garde, over a 38-game stretch from 2018 to 2019, put up almost 1.7 points per game, which over a 34-game regular season puts you in the top 5 in Major League Soccer. So it's interesting that clearly someone who could get the job done and has lost the reins recently. They've lost 6 of their last 8 games. So in comes Wilmer Cabrera. Wilmer Cabrera's last 13 or 14 games, 2, 11, and 1. I guess that's 14 games.
Yeah.
2 wins, 11 losses, 1 draw in that stretch. So why do you bring somebody in with that? There's only 2 reasons that come to my mind. One is that you want someone who knows the league. You don't want to hire an interim or an assistant like Colorado and Cincinnati, and there's one other club that have done that this year, Houston.
Yep.
Right? You don't want to hire an interim who doesn't have an experience. You also don't want to go out of the league and bring someone in who might take time to acclimate. You need someone who knows the league, who knows how to be a professional manager right now. The second part to that is you also may or may not have a series of single elimination games coming up, and you have to win perhaps every single one to make the playoffs. And Wilmer Cabrera has done that. The 2017 playoffs, he takes the Houston Dynamo to the Western Conference Final. 2018, he takes the Houston Dynamo to win the Open Cup. So he knows how to navigate these individual games at a time. Now, is there risk with hiring someone who has gone 2-11-1 in his last 14 games? Absolutely, but I can also see a little bit of light into the explanation for why.
We're waiting to see some of the explanation from Montreal. I think the press conference is on this Thursday, but we're recording it pretty early in the day. The president and CEO, Kevin Gilmore, basically says that it was a difficult decision, but it was the latest series of failures in the past couple months, the results, and the way the team acts on the field that led to the change. As far as Wilmer Cabrera goes, no disrespect to Wilmer. The results just didn't go his way in Houston. I don't think he's necessarily a bad coach. I don't think he was a slam dunk. You announce this and your fans get jacked up about this hire, but maybe it makes sense in this sort of perspective. Ignacio Piatti is most likely in his final run with the Montreal Impact. You have Bojan who's come in, Akwankwo, Lassi Lapalainen. You have talent. So you just need somebody to get the best out of that talent over 2 or 3 months. And that may not mean that you come in and do some crazy tactical thing. You're not going to come in and Bob Bradley this team, right? You just need somebody who can motivate them, who gives them a fresh look, who just gets them kind of out of the funk that they've been in and united behind a common goal, which is somehow, some way making the playoffs, not wasting the final year of Piatti and pushing on from there. Whether it's a long-term move, I don't know. They'll have to explain that to us. But you're right. Wilmer has shown that he can be a motivator in these times, has shown that he can win those games. Now he flips conferences and gets an immediate opportunity to sort of redeem himself. And remember, Matt Jordan was up in Montreal before, so maybe some good words passed back and forth. For now, though, let's talk to somebody who's on the ground. That's Patrice Bernier, a legend and now an assistant coach with the Montreal Impact as an AT&T call to the field. Patrice, how's it going?
I'm good. Still absorbing over the last few hours, but I'm at home at my club, and now I get a chance to help out more with the first team.
Yeah, we're watching, kind of following Wilmer Cabrera's opening press conference right now. You're an assistant coach. You said it. It's been hectic. It's been a little bit surprising. Tell me about your last, 24 hours or so.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's quite hectic. It's nothing I was surprised. I just came back from Costa Rica with the Under-13 CONCACAF Champions League on Monday. Yesterday was my first day back at the academy, the facility. And the president approached me and had announced to me that Remi wasn't going to be in his functions anymore, and that there was the opportunity to see if I could be with. They wanted me to be in the staff to help out in terms of the next couple of weeks to transition. Since I have been at the club, I've been in the league. I know some of the players, and so I got caught off guard this was all in the span of an hour, because I'd seen Remi basically an hour before, and then things were going to change, and that now an opportunity was there to be with the staff, and that the club wanted me as a president, wanted me to be around to second the new coach, which was Wilmer Cabrera.
Wilmer is in. You're on the staff. I want to rewind a little bit, though, and put on your analyst hat for me. Remi Garde, why was it now that he had to leave? Why did the club, do you think, make this change?
I think the president said it the last day. They felt that the last few weeks the team was maybe not getting the results they were expected or hoping, and that especially going to this final stretch, he felt that he needed to make a move, that the club needed to make a move to stir something, so that the objectives of the season, which making the playoffs and also I guess the final of the Canadian Championship, that the team needed I guess a boost. It's never a good day, because of course somebody has to leave, or somebody, it's not just somebody, it's three people from the staff who are highly respected, has done a very good job. I think the club is very appreciative of what they have left in terms of new culture at the club, professionalism. They have left a good footprint that now the new coach has to, Wilmer Cabrera, bring to the forefront and re-energize this group to go and get victories and performances and make the playoffs and it starts against TFC. So.
Yeah, let's talk about that TFC game, because you guys come into a huge moment. Your first game in charge is the Canadian Classique. So what are the things you're focusing on to turn it around for that big event?
Wilmer just came in, and I think he's watched a few of the games, and he was coached not too long ago in terms of another team in the league, so he already knew a bit of the impact. So he wants to approach it. I'm not going to give all the details, but he wants to bring in a certain approach, knowing that they're playing Toronto, and Toronto has a certain skill set, but also wants to maybe attack certain things that the team wasn't good at. Let's not lie, set pieces, one of them. But also maybe for the team to be, I guess, maybe higher up and maybe more on the forefront in terms of, going there and being, I can say dominant, but going more forward. I think as a coach, his teams have always been at least vertical and dynamic going at goal. So I think that's just what he's going to bring. But it's TFC, it's a rivalry game. Two teams are at the same kind of situation a bit. Not exactly in terms of they didn't change coach, but, the standings, they're doing okay, and we're not doing as well. And this is a crucial time because we're going to meet them in MLS and also the Canadian Championship for the final. So let's say it's first baptism, you're jumping into the rivalry. And it's to try to come in and show that the team can be re-energized, boost, and come in and have a performance against Toronto, because we're fighting for literally the last few spots for playoffs. So it's going to be interesting, but I think at first post he wants to redirect it to the players and tell them that they're the players. They're the ones really can make the change. Even though he was in Houston, he's now in Montreal. Remi is no longer here. He's going to bring new conversation, new speech, but the players have to be the ones to take this and take it on their own, and that he can only push them and guide them with the new staff to get us a result and a good performance on Saturday.
So having been through this, is there a nugget that you're giving the players for their emotional, their mental preparation for what's going to be a grind working for that last playoff spot?
Yeah, you guys know the last stretch is, you have to be in the right frame of mind. You have to have the results. You have to feel, that every game is like you're in the playoffs almost already. You're setting yourself up for the playoffs. So every game is, I'm jumping across above another team. That you have more belief in yourself, and the team has had success. Remi may be gone, but he did do things at the beginning of the season that the team was known for, being solid defensively, compact, and so team unity was there. You could see it. So now it's to recapture it and to realize that that are coming are small little finals. And you're going to play against direct rivals for some of these games, so you got to go at it with the mindset that, hey, if I beat them, I'm taking 3 points from them, I'm taking a victory, and I'm also setting a tone saying, hey, we're coming. So there's still 7 games of MLS to be played, plus 2 Canadian championships, which is the final. So this team is 7th and has the tools. Now it's just to recalibrate, I would say, the mindset and realize that, you know what, yeah, maybe, we were in a funk, but okay, this new speech, this new coach, he just created the click for us in terms of, really, we have to change our mindset and realize that as a team, as a team and as a club, we can go and get these results and move forward, but it's one game at a time.
Snap your fingers. Everything has changed in Montreal. Wilmer Cabrera is now in. Coverage at MLSsoccer.com. Toronto FC Montreal, Canadian Classique, Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on TVA Sports. ESPN Plus for that one as well here in the United States. You said it, 9 games left. Canadian Championship right now. Montreal, 34 points in 7th on tiebreakers. Toronto FC have 34 points too. So do Orlando City. Patrice Bernier, always good to talk to you, man. A legend of the game, a legend in Canadian soccer, and a legend on Extra Time. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks, appreciate it, guys. So I guess, I don't know if we'll chat again in terms of coach, but it's always a pleasure, guys, to keep it up. And, looking forward to Saturday.
Always good to chat with Patrice Bernier, the Canadian Classique, going down on Saturday. We'll also go down to the Canadian Championship final. You can watch that one. You can watch Real Salt Lake, Colorado at ESPN Plus at 10 p.m. Eastern. And then you have Sunday, and you have a triple header. Hell is Real at 6 p.m. on FS1. Then the Texas Derby, 8 p.m. on FS1. And then El Trafico at 10:30 p.m. on FS1. LAFC and LA Galaxy finish off Heineken Rivalry Week. It's a lot. It's a lot of soccer, and it's a lot of really, really intriguing matchups. We're going to be here for all of it. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Pre-game shows, post-game shows, MLS Match Day Central. We got more on LAFC, by the way, coming in the mailbag, Bobby. But first, we got to talk St. Louis. We've kind of broken it down on this show. They are team number 28. It is official. MLS for the Lou. Got it done. I'm really excited for this as a Kansan, as someone who went to St. Louis on vacation a ton in my childhood and knows about that rivalry between the two cities, Kansas City and St. Louis. On the line now to help explain this is Phill Grooms. He's a co-host of the USL Show. They cover the USL team in St. Louis. He's a native there, and he's so excited for this team. Phil, how's it going?
What's up? Thanks for having me on, man.
No doubt. Congratulations for one. How long have you been waiting for MLS in St. Louis?
Oh, a long time. Honestly, ever since I became a national team fan, like a diehard one, I should say, stepping it up a little bit. I've just been dying to have a St. Louis team. And, we got that with the USL, and this is just another step up, up another level. But we've been waiting for MLS and attempting MLS for a long time now.
So you're the host of the USL Show, a co-host. Sorry, we don't want to create a little bit of beef with the crew there. So tell me about yourself a little bit so people understand where you're coming from on this. You're born and raised St. Louis, soccer fan for life. Walk me through it.
No, you know what? You guys might not like this, but I'm a little bit of a hack. I've gotten into soccer a long time ago as far as the national team, but honestly, I got really into St. Louis FC once they joined the USL, and I kind of started my St. Louis podcast in their second season. And, I'm a little bit of a latecomer. I didn't play soccer at all my entire life, but I've been obsessed for several years now, and I think I've raised my knowledge level up to the degree where hopefully I don't say anything dumb today.
That's awesome. We'd love to hear that. What was the moment when you got hooked? Was there a play or a game?
No, it was just the fact that we had pro soccer in St. Louis and that, the level – I went to most of the games the first year they came, and it was just the level was higher, and the access to the players was incredible. To just walk up to Brian Gall, who used to play for LA Galaxy, and just ask him about the game, and I got to hear exactly what he thought, and it was really cool. That was probably the moment where I got hooked. Where I drank a little bit too much, got brave, talked to Brian Gall about how bad the game went.
Hey, man, those are the moments that you remember. Obviously, didn't drink too much, right. Clearly. Look, let's just talk about the big news, which is that MLS is coming. Walk me through the event, the hoopla, how people in St. Louis are talking and thinking about this.
Yeah, people are coming out from the woodwork, but to be honest with you, it's been a nice mix of tons of USL fans there and a lot of new fans, a lot of people that are kind of waiting for MLS to really come out and support a St. Louis team, which has been nice to see, honestly. That's one of the benefits of MLS is it's not just the really dedicated fans, the really crazy fans like that the USL draws. It's we need those average folks to come out to 10, 12 games a year in the tens of thousands. And so I think St. Louis is going to deliver in that way. But the event was fun. The celebration after was much better. It was just, you saw shirts from every MLS team, a lot of green and blue from the USL team, and everybody came together and celebrated, and it was a lot of fun.
So we know about the history of soccer in St. Louis, the leagues of the past, and all the famous players, whether they be Bosnian or American or whatever, in the college ranks, Slew, Scott Gallagher, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Walk me through, as a local, your perception of your soccer culture. What is it right now? What can it be? What will it be?
Our soccer culture has always been, at first it was very immigrant, but always workmanlike. I live in a neighborhood called Dogtown, and that's named after the hard-working men who worked in the clay mines, the doggies. And the Hill is right next door. And you guys know that in the 50s, the U.S. men's national team beat England. And, 5 or 6 of those guys were from that neighborhood called the Hill, that is just an Italian neighborhood. And it starts there, I said that we had a bad game that I talked to Brian Gall about in the first year. And we've been trying to discover our identity in St. Louis as far as how much we spend and what kind of team we have. And with Ant Poulis, it's become a very workmanlike team, and they work together. The sum is greater than the whole, and so better than the individual. So we've found that, and I think we're really happy with what we found in the USL. And that may change with the MLS team, but I'm excited to see if this groundwork we've laid moves on to the next level.
We'll see what happens when you hit MLS. In the meantime, there's construction to be done. There is both physical and sort of in the ephemeral sense in building a team. The stadium is downtown. The stadium is in a great spot based on everything I know about St. Louis and my visits there in the past. Go Royals. What's this going to be as far as an event? The stadium, the location, everything around it, how does it change what is going on currently in USL and elevate it a little bit?
This is a game changer. I'm so glad you brought it up, because honestly, this is the best story. It is on Clark Street. And on Clark Street, they're going to start calling it, get ready for it, they're going to start calling it the greatest sports street in the country.
Oh, wow.
Because you have at the very, where Clark dead ends is Busch Stadium, where the Cardinals play. Right down the way is Enterprise Center. Enterprise might sound familiar. That is where the Blues play, and we've heard a lot about the Blues lately. Right down the street from that is Union Station, and where the MLS stadium will be. And so it is totally possible for there to be a baseball Cardinals game, a Blues hockey game, and a St. Louis MLS game going at the same time on the same day with like 100,000 people if we sell out all those stadiums. And knowing St. Louis, it could happen. It could very well happen.
You feel like there's a hunger here for soccer? We kind of look at I was just in Portland, and they have an NBA team, but they don't have the NFL, and the Timbers have this elevated position within the local sports market. We talked earlier in this show to Mike Conti in Atlanta, and despite the fact that they have all the sports, there's an elevated position for Atlanta United. Do you think that this St. Louis MLS team is going to be, from the jump, sort of on a level with those teams? I know they're insane about the Cardinals there, but where do you think it'll fall in the echelon locally?
I don't think it'll be hard at all. You got to see how terrible the Blues have been for so long, and their attendance has never dropped to a degree where you'd be a little worried about maybe a Columbus sort of thing happening. It's always been the support there, and I think all you have to do is look at the national team games in St. Louis in a baseball stadium at that. I went to the St. Vincent Grenadines game, World Cup qualifier several years ago, and it was over 40,000 attendance. You look at the women's national team game selling out at Busch Stadium in the recent past. St. Louis is so freaking hungry for a high level of soccer, and I really think putting the stadium downtown, we're gonna start seeing the rewards of that. And this stadium can be expanded bigger, and I seriously hope that we show that we can support an even bigger stadium in the near future. And
we have to ask this in the Heineken week of rivals: who do you think will be the rival when St. Louis comes into the league?
KC, if the USL rivalries have anything to say about it. We really get up for the Park Rangers games and really, really want to beat them every time. So far that's it. I could see Chicago sneaking in there too, for real.
One of the interesting parts, and you go back to ownership when you talk about stadiums and what this team will be on a spending platform, the first female majority ownership group in Major League Soccer. It's so cool to see those photos. That part is awesome, but it's also awesome that they seem like people that are ingrained in the community. When you're looking at it as a supporter, as someone who covers the USL team, who will cover the MLS team, what do you make of this ownership group and what they'll mean to what this team eventually becomes?
TKB, Carolyn Kindle Betts, is a wonderful owner, and you're right. They're so entrenched in supporting St. Louis. You know, the Gateway Arch just became a national park because of all the money they put into revamping it. They're into the arts. They're into the sports. They're into helping, organizations all over the city in different ways. They're an amazing group, and my favorite thing about them being majority women-led and owned is that happened naturally. Like, it's not like everyone was like, okay, hey, we're going to try to put all these women in a room and make them the MLS owners. No. They were already in powerful positions in this city, and they're good at their job, and it just naturally became that. And that's kind of my favorite part of that aspect.
You can listen to Phill Grooms on the USL Show at Phill Grooms, 2 L's, as you see on the screen here. If you're watching on YouTube, is the Twitter profile. We're going to jump into the mailbag, Phil, and I'm just going to keep you here for this first question because I think you can probably answer this better than we ever could. This is an anonymous text that we got to the Hot Take Hotline. It says, with St. Louis coming to MLS, let's make some way too early head coach predictions. This anonymous individual says Brad Davis. What do you think? Who might be some candidates, Phil?
Brad Davis is running the St. Louis FC part of the academy in Kansas City, so that's an interesting shout. I like what Ant Poulos has done. I wouldn't mind seeing him get a chance, but we've been talking about like probably 12 different St. Louisans that have coaching experience that could slip in here. Mike Sorber was a shout out, but I don't know. There's too many. I'd be happy with Ant getting a shot, but I'm going to let the GM decide now.
All right, team number 28, St. Louis. We're super excited for it. As a Kansas guy and a Kansas City guy, I'm here for this rivalry. It's going to be great.
Right.
Leave the greatest supporters in the world stuff at home, though. All right, Phil? Just leave that at home.
All right, man.
Let the Cardinals have that.
That's not me.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, dude.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, big thanks to Phil. He's going to be jacked for the next couple of years, and even more so when that stadium gets built and St. Louis hits the field. You can follow the coverage of the newest expansion team in MLS at MLSsoccer.com, MLS.com if you're Adrian Heath. All right, let's get to the mailbag. 401-2060-MLS. Extra time at MLSsoccer.com. Karos Louder. Know him well. Does a lot of video work for MLS. He had a very interesting question for Matt Doyle, but Matt's not here, so we get to answer it. You get to score one MLS goal, and you're forced to retire. Do you want to score a bender, a banger from 30 yards out, or like Vela, Bobby? What do you want to do? Yeah, one goal. You have a goal. Do you stick with?
I'll leave it. You answer it. I have my goal. I'm going to stick with my goal.
You're going to
game
stick
winner
with that goal.
In Kansas City.
Wow.
So why don't you answer this one?
Wow. I think I want Vela. I like the 30-yarder, and there's nothing like, as an amateur, like hitting a ball sweetly. I know that you pros do it all the time, and it feels old hat to just like put your laces through something and see it go exactly where you want it to go. But there's just something about leaving players in the dust and sort of embarrassing them that just gets me going. Like this was one of those goals that I will remember where I was, what was happening, how Kalen reacted, how everyone in the office reacted. It was like Zlatan against LAFC in that first El Trafico. It was absolutely that special. And we're going to end here from the Toronto Duck. He says, tactically, which team in the East has the best chance of beating LAFC in MLS Cup final? He's making some assumptions there. Mm-hmm. Is there a team? And then after that, I want your opinion on whether they have to win MLS Cup this year to be considered a success.
I'd say the answer needs to be Atlanta United if they do what they did in 2018, right? When they went to those five in the back, they're a defensive, direct team. I hate to say it, but one of the truths to soccer is that usually if you play defensive and you play direct and you counterattack, you have the upper hand on a team that passes and presses because the margins are so much smaller. So I would say Atlanta if they play a certain way, but you also have to look at the 25 minutes when the Red Bulls outplayed and created more chances against LAFC. But I think the number one answer is Atlanta United.
There's a talent level there too with Josef and Pitti and Barco. Yes. If those guys keep rising, plus Gressel, plus Miram, plus Darlington, et cetera, on down the line, Miles Robinson, LGP, Guzan, you get the drift here. I'm going to say Max Bretos didn't. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say that LAFC need to win MLS Cup to truly sort of realize their place in league history. I understand that they're going to probably, set the record for points. They're going to run away with the Supporters' Shield. I've already said that they own that. But I think in this league, given their ambitions, they need to win MLS Cup to be everything that they can be, could be, and are showing themselves to be.
Andrew, the conversation about players and teams needing trophies to me is so amateur, man. Like the idea in playoffs when a single game in Major League Soccer or a few games can decide your legacy. This whole conversation about LeBron James versus other players in history to me is so dumb. You don't need to win a trophy if you over 34 games are the best. And what this team has done, we've gone over the records every single week over a 34 game stretch. They have been so good. So would a trophy help? Yes, but the idea that you need to win a trophy in single elimination games, especially in the most random sport of all the sports, to me just oversimplifies it and doesn't actually give a fair assessment.
I'm willing to say that I'm oversimplifying it. But what I'm saying is that if LAFC don't do it, they'll be remembered as the historic team that didn't do it. The history will be remembered, and everybody will praise them. And look, Bob Bradley and John Thorrington and Carlos Vela and everything that they're doing is driving the league forward. But there will be an asterisk. It's just the way it works. And I know that it could be amateurish. It could be stupid. I could be, as Mike Conti said earlier, leaning into a sports talk cliche. But there will always be that element of, oh, but they didn't.
That's fair. You can have an asterisk, but they should still be remembered as the best MLS team of all time. The numbers they're putting up, the way they're going about it, it is possible for them not to win MLS Cup in a single elimination playoff in a random sport and still be the best team ever in MLS.
That sound you hear is Toronto FC fans disagreeing with you. That sound you hear is LA Galaxy fans probably guffawing a little bit. As DC fans from back in the early days being like, what are you talking about? If we didn't win those championships, nobody would have talked about us in these same ways.
All fair claims. You know the thing that makes soccer such a great sport is we can have the conversation that LAFC have been so good over 34 games, but would they beat Toronto in a single game? Would they beat the 2019 Galaxy, the 2018 Atlanta United in a single game? And how do you factor in a single game into the conversation? But I'm a full season kind of guy, and over that full stretch, they've been the best team in the league.
I feel that. You're also a Pep guy, yeah?
Yes.
What do you think he thinks about Man City's season last year? Incredible in the league. Didn't win what they ultimately set out to win, which was the Champions League.
No, he would call it a success.
He would, but wouldn't he say there was something missing? Just one thing?
Yeah, there's something missing, Andrew. The question is, there can be something missing, and you can still be the greatest team.
I will give them that right now. On the field, what they're doing, it's absolutely incredible. Congratulations, LAFC. I cannot wait for El Trafico. We barely even hyped that game up. 10:30 p.m. Eastern on FS1 on Sunday. That is part of a 3-game triple header on FS1 to finish off Heineken Rivalry Week. Check out the nicest rivalry in MLS tonight. If you're listening on Thursday, SKC, Minnesota. Saturday, full slate. Friday, full slate. Sunday, full slate. Soccer, just OD on it this weekend, folks, and tune back in on Monday. We'll break it all down. Big thanks to all our guests. No time to list them all. We're out of here. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.